There we are. What is up? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shred Show Live. I've got a new guest. I've got a new friend hanging out with me, and I like him already because he's got the hat just like me. Y'all know I love hats, and Matt is rocking one this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by Matt Beans of REI Bookkeepers. And right now, you guys may be thinking, well, Josh, are you kidding me? Why are we talking about bookkeeping? Why are we talking about finances? Because right now, more than ever in this market, many of you may be struggling with business finances. Maybe you're struggling with personal finances. So I thought, what better time to have a discussion with one of the absolute experts of finance to have Matt on, answering some of those questions, sharing some of the things that you may not know that could absolutely help you right now. So ladies and gentlemen, sit down. If you have questions, you can even ask them when it comes to personal finance. And if we can get them answered, we're going to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Are you ready? It is time to shred. Ladies and gentlemen, a good morning and welcome to the Shred Show Live. Like I mentioned, I am super excited to have Matt join me this morning. And again, a discussion that I don't typically have. We're always talking about mortgage and real estate and marketing and social media. But this morning in particular, when Matt and I spoke a few weeks ago, I said, you know what, Matt, this could be a very relevant discussion for everything. People, business may be down for them a little bit. So sharing some tips and tricks and strategies when it comes to bookkeeping and finances is a really, really good thing. But before we get into that discussion, I want to get to know Matt a little bit better. So Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in finance? How did you get started in bookkeeping?
I actually want to back this up. So a couple months ago, or I guess a year ago now, we had a store on Mill Ave, which I'm located in Phoenix, Arizona. And so Mill Ave's like the downtown area of Tempe, which is like ASU college, the whole 9 yards. And it was called Shred Club. So when I saw your agency was Shred Media, I was like, dude, I already like this guy. So that's awesome.
We're shredding together, man. See, two shreds always make a right.
So finance, I don't know. I just grew up like my parents didn't really manage money well, which ended up when I was younger, ended up causing they had a business which ended up failing. There's just like my dad's filed bankruptcy a couple times.
Dang.
And so there's just like a lot of turmoil growing up when it came to money. And I vowed to never, ever allow that to happen. So even going into business and everything, I've always been super diligent with the finances. Grew up doing the envelope system where I wouldn't even cash checks or I wouldn't even deposit checks when I was, 16, 17 years old. I would cash them and I'd literally put them in different envelopes. And so when I'd go on dates with girls or I'd go out with friends, I'd be pulling money out of each thing. And
dude, I love it. Dude, you were diligent. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so that's just kind of carried on. And I thought everybody did this, right? I was like, oh, all these business owners, they're all in the 20s, 30s, 40s. Like they're all adults. They know what they're doing. And as I get older and start, working in the bookkeeping business, working with we primarily work with real estate investors and a couple other service industries. But man, it's just a mess. It's like, it's a complete mess. Like the amount of debt, there's no structure. You're trying to navigate the world, especially right now with the changing market. And it's like, you don't even have a foundation to stand on because everything's just mixed and mingled. And like, it's like, you're already stressed out because you're kind of putting on this face of like, oh, I have it all together, when deep it down subconsciously, it's a mess. And so now you can't make moves, right? So it's like, it honestly breaks my heart. Like I've worked with some clients. I'm like, dude, I'm going to have a hard freaking conversation with this guy on our next call.
Dude, finances are one of those things that we often push to the side. We don't know, it's cliche to talk about them. It's almost one of those things. It's almost hush hush. But you and I both know, I mean, from past, I didn't experience as much as you did growing up, but we were never a wealthy family by any means, but anybody who's ever experienced when finances are short or, making it month to month, it creates a lot of contention. It can create a lot of frustration with marriages, within families. So finances are one of those things that are absolutely critical. But again, they sometimes are swept under, they're not always the easiest discussion to be having. So that's why when you and I were talking about them, and like you said, you guys mainly deal on the real estate investing side, but you're like, hey, let's just even talk about a few simple things, mistakes that I've seen, like a few things that could maybe be shared that could help the general populace. Plus, you come from a mortgage background as well. You're a loan officer, mortgage specialist. So I'm like, dude, you kind of come from our background as well. So we want to share some things with our community that may really help them in times right now where they're struggling. So with that, Matt, what are some of those biggest mistakes that you see right now?
Just some super, like, just fundamentally, like, the way that I view the finance world right now is you've got Dave Ramsey, you've got Grant Cardone, or nothing,
Yeah,
right? Like, that's
that goes
kind of
crazy.
it's like that extreme or this extreme, and they both have their place. I love Grant Cardone's message, like, make more money, make more money, make more money. That really is the answer to so many people's problems. But then you've got Dave Ramsey's, like, he's kind of more defense, right? Like, let's
Sure.
create the budget, let's stick to this, let's plug the holes in the ship, let's cut back spending. And I think that during different times, it depends. And I think for the last 2.5 years, it's been Grant Cardone. It doesn't
Mm.
matter what you spend. It doesn't matter. You don't play defense, all in, offense, go. Well, now the tide is kind of lowering for a little bit, and there's some exposed ships, there's some exposed holes in the ship that are getting more and more exposed. And so now it's time. Well, it was time like a year ago, but
Mm.
it's time to really focus on that defense. And any it's gonna seem simple, but it's like you have a bucket of money, right? And if that bucket of money is leaking holes everywhere, that's your problem. So going and making more money is just going to cause more leakage, right? Just more leakage.
Hmm.
So something that I do, an exercise that I go through with clients that really don't know what, like, Matt, I need help, right? They're freaking out. They're max out on their credit cards, 90, 95%, DTI, like, just scared,
Crazy.
right? Just scared. The first thing I do is I go through their bank statements and I actually map out how their money flows,
Ah.
because a lot of people, and it's an exercise I haven't actually heard anybody else do, but it makes you visualize how money is flowing in your business. And when you look at it, it always looks like a spider web. It's like, what in the heck is going on? And it makes people realize why it's so difficult to untangle the whole mess.
Hmm.
So then I'll go through and I'll figure out, like, what categories are we spending the most money on that are not relevant?
So it's not so much like people always get this mindset of like, oh, I need to just make more money. A lot of times it's just looking inward and be like, hold on, maybe we're making some spending, that maybe there's some spending issues that are
Yeah.
the base of the problem.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, one recurring problem, I don't know why, maybe they're just like really freaking good at marketing, but like so many people have an Acorns account or like some sort of these like small little investment accounts, which is cool. Like, if you're going to invest. But if you're going to invest into the S&P 500, which, let's just say, what, 8% on average this year,
Yep.
negative 8%,
I say,
right?
yee.
So let's just say historic average, right? Like, all the experts want to say 8%. All right, cool. If you're max out on your freaking credit cards at 18 to 25%, your $7 a week that goes into your Acorns account, you're losing money over here at 24% in your credit cards. So it is a better investment to pay off your credit cards, because now you're not losing 24%, right? You just literally arbitraged for somebody else. Hey, let me borrow
Dude.
money at 24% so I can make 7%. Now the bank makes money because you're an idiot. Like,
I love the honesty here. And plus, Trent, Trent is losing money in Starbucks and McDonald's. Trent, you got to no. So I want to talk about this. This is an interesting. I want to stay on this topic where you're at, but is it the little spending that hurts people, Matt? Is it the Starbucks? Is it the McDonald's? Is it little spending like that overall can hurt? Because even your point here, the Acorns account, that's really funny. I do not have an Acorns account. I've heard a lot of people are like, oh yeah, we love Acorns, but is it the minute spending on the Starbucks and McDonald's? Does that make a big deal?
It depends on the volume, right? It's
Okay.
like we'll go drink Starbucks. Like I don't think that saving your I'm 100% with Grant Cardone on this. Like your $5 Starbucks isn't what's going to bankrupt you. What's going to bankrupt you is the Starbucks, then the nicer haircut, then the nicer car, then the nicer this, right? It's like somebody gets one nice thing and then all areas of life, everything they do gets nicer. And then they get a taste of the next nice thing, and then everything else gets nicer. And then they get a taste of this nice thing, and then everything else gets nicer.
Mm,
And then it's very humbling to have to go backwards,
sure.
right?
Well, it's that taste is keeping up with the Joneses too, and especially in the social media world. Everybody knows I love social media, but you start to see like, oh, Matt got a nicer car. Maybe I need maybe I can afford this or I can do this, and then it just becomes you get stuck in this rat race of like, oh, I got to keep doing this, I got to get better. And like you said, most people aren't willing to be humble enough to take a step back and be like, okay, I got to cut the spending here. Like you said, I got to plug these holes in the ships. So how do we what's the thing that when you see somebody who has made these mistakes, who have almost got themselves to where they're taking on so much water, what are the steps for them? How do you really start to help them to say, okay, we got to stop the water coming in?
The quickest thing anybody can do is realize what they're spending money on and just hemorrhage the blood that's flowing out, right?
Got it.
Like we just need to stop bleeding. That's usually the first thing, right? Step one, let's stop this nonsense. Stop the chaos, stop the nonsense, right? Step two, I think, is let's figure out a couple things that we can pull back. Depending on the degree of your situation, there's going to be more or there's going to be less, right? Um, and then 9 times out of 10, you're in this situation because you're not making enough money, right? If you lose a little bit of money every month, but you have some credit lines or you have like some cash or something that can kind of float you, I think it's okay to go into debt. Like I don't think that all debt is bad. The
Agreed.
debt that is bad is the reason why the Starbucks kills you is because you pay $5 for a Starbucks or $7 now for a Starbucks that you can't afford, and then you pay 24% interest on it on a credit card, and then you do it again tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And then you have 30 days at $5, $150 plus 24%, plus the next month, plus the next month, plus the next month, extrapolated over 5 years when you think that you know what you're doing and you're going to pay this off at some point. And now you're $3,000 in Starbucks debt plus 24% interest, right? Like that's why you get screwed. So usually when people have a problem, they've been running this course for not a year, not a month, not 2 years, not 3 years, but 5, 6, 7 years. And so they've been digging a gradual, slow hole. They've been turning the boiling up for 5, 6, 7 years, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I can't get another credit line. Oh, I can't get a promotion at work. Oh, I'm stressed out. Oh, I can't make rent. And that's when the ostrich's head comes out of the ground and you're like, oh, we have a problem here, guys, right? So usually it's stop the hemorrhage the bleeding, and then let's figure out how to make a little bit extra money and do it in humble ways, right? Like real estate's sexy, and most people that get into real estate are going to fail. So I don't think that's the answer for most people.
Wow. I love the honesty here.
I'm believer in real estate. I flipped over 150 acres of land. I flipped houses, but the reality is if you don't have money and you're in debt and you're going to go buy a house, let's say to flip, house is what, $400,000. So you have no money. So now you're going to take on $400,000 of debt or ask somebody else for $400,000. Now you got to figure out how to manage a crew, materials, supplies, market it, right? It's very complex. But make more money in simple ways. Don't worry about making the $50,000, $100,000 to get you out of debt. How can we make an extra $1,000? How can we make an extra $1, right? Can you make something and sell it? Is there a service that you can sell? Can you do consulting? Can you go take trash out at a freaking office and do office cleaning in the evening? Can you drive your car and go drive Uber Eats or Uber or something to make an extra $100 today?
Side hustle, baby. That's what side hustle.
Get that side hustle going, right? An extra $100 a week, $400 a month, that pays at least one or two credit card bills, right?
For
Now we
sure.
can start, like, most people need to be honest with themselves and realize it took 7 years to get in this situation, and to get out of it in a month is completely unrealistic.
Dude, it really is. Like, and that's sometimes I love that you talk about the whole $7 for Starbucks with a compounding 24% interest. Like, it really does add up over years. Like, people don't think about it. Brett Kuhn says vampire subscriptions need to be considered too.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's something
100%.
that those monthly trial subs that we're signed up for, silently sucking $10 a month. Dude, I know all of us have those, like $10 a month, and then or it's a trial period, and then it goes to $40 a month, or all the subscriptions from every freaking TV service, from Hulu to Netflix, Disney Plus, blah blah blah. Everything is a subscription now, and it's just crazy. It is,
Mhm,
Brett. That's a great comment. So I love this idea too, Matt, of creating just a little bit of extra opportunity. Like, you're not needing to go make thousands, and most of the time that's unrealistic. It's just a few
mhm,
$100 more that can make a big difference, especially when you're starting to pay down some of those credit cards as you start focusing on them. I mean, the Dave Ramsey, everybody's the Dave Ramsey debt snowball, trying to figure that out. But it is just simple things like this that I think people should be really mindful of in the times. Everybody's talking about a looming recession. Everybody's talking about inflation, but it's little like practices like this that we keep in our mind that can really help us stay safe and not even get into those situations, because avoiding them is way better than trying to dig out from them.
mhm. Oh, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
So I want to, maybe as we start to come to the tail end of this, what are some of the best practices? We kind of focus, I don't want to say we focus on the negative like these things, but what are some of the things that you recommend that are like, hey, maybe start here? Maybe if you have gotten yourself in this situation, or to avoid it, what are some best practices that people should be focused on right now?
All right, so let's just assume somebody's like pretty good, right? Maybe a
Yeah,
couple $1,000 in credit card debt. I feel like that's normal. You want to be around 10% utilization, all
sure.
this stuff, right? If you're like solid, you've got some extra money in the bank and you're going to start a business, or you have a business and you're not quite sure how to build a financial structure or whatever that looks like. Um, don't do everything out of one bank account. This is more for business. It can be applied to personal, but I'm shifting to business now.
Perfect.
So don't do everything out of one bank account, because what do we do when we make decisions in business? The reality is 3 to 5% of business owners actually get a P&L every month. Of those 3 to 5%, very few know how to read it.
It's
Okay?
true.
Once you start making moves in business, you realize how few people are actually successful in business, and it starts to make sense because the ones that are successful get P&Ls and balance sheets and know what's going on in their business. So,
Hmm.
now, let's be real. 3 to 5% get P&Ls. The people that don't get P&Ls have a bank account. And what do they do to make decisions? They open their Chase app, their US bank app. They say, "Hey,
100%.
how much money do I have in this thing?" Right? And then come Friday or the first of the month, "Oh shoot, I'm short on rent. Let me just pull some money out." Come April 15th, "Oh shoot, we have to pay taxes again this year. Like we have the last 7 years. We haven't prepared for this though. Let's pull some money out of that bank account. Oh, we have materials. Oh, let's put it on the credit card," right? It's very reactive mode when you have one bank account,
Sure.
because I'm going to say this again in another way. You have 50 grand in a bank account. Okay. How much money do we have allocated for taxes? How much money do we have allocated for the day-to-day operations, the operational expense of the business? How much money do we have allocated to pay me as the president and CEO of the company?
Right.
How much money do we have to pay our shareholders? Even if you're the business owner and you are 100% shareholder, you need to start treating this like a business. How much do we have allocated for the shareholders? How
Mm.
much do we have allocated towards growing the company, right? That marketing budget, that growth, the next building, acquiring a new employee, like expansion, right? Is 50 grand in one bank account. I don't know. So now when I'm making decisions off of a $50,000 number, I have to do mental math. And then I'm like kind of frustrated and confused. Where when we extrapolate those and you have an OPEX account where 30 to 50% of your expense, of your income goes to.
Right.
Boom. If you need to make operational, can we afford it? Look in that OpEx account. It doesn't change your habit. You can still open your banking app. You don't need to learn how to read a P&L. You don't need to learn how to do bookkeeping. You don't need to hire another bookkeeper. You don't need to hire another team member. It's very simple. Money comes into an income account. Then we move it to an OpEx account, an owner's comp account, a profit account, a tax account. And then boom, we have these little buckets that we can make decisions out of. So when you talk to your CPA, hey, your tax bill is going to be 10 grand. It's not like, oh, 10 grand. Am I going to be able to afford this? It's, oh, cool. How much is in the tax account? 8 grand. Cool. We can come up with another 2.
Dude.
Or, hey, there's 12 grand in the tax account. Perfect. We have a little bit extra for next year.
Dude, this is like, that seems so simple, but it's so profound because I guarantee most people are like, the fact that you said 3 to 5% look at a profit and loss of P&L is crazy. Like I know our team does it, but if you don't want to do that in your business, if you want to be able to like, I don't have to worry about that. What Matt just spoke about. This is why I wanted to have Matt on the call, just because I'm like, these are the little things we don't think about. That's why we have experts. That's why we have people that can help us. We're all experts in our field of mortgage or real estate or whatever it is, but we don't think about the back end of this. Most of us are terrible. Like I will be very honest. You've heard me talk about the show. I'm terrible with finances. That's why I have a CFO. That's why I have somebody run our finances and do some of these practices that Matt's talking about, because if I was running the show, I'm the bank account guy. I'm the Chase guy that pulls up the Chase app. Hey, what's going on here? So this has been absolutely brilliant, Matt. I appreciate you coming on the show. Guys, if you have questions, I'm going to post Matt's information below. Reach out to Matt over at REI Bookkeepers because they can help you with these things. We just started to touch the tip of the iceberg here, but finances are so critically important, especially in times right now. Maybe your business is struggling a bit. Maybe you slowed down. So being able to look at these things, being able to have an expert like Matt and their team help you, make sure you reach out to this. This has been absolutely brilliant, Matt. I appreciate you willing to come on the show and sharing your expertise. This has been a lot of fun too. You've shared some like hard truths with people here, so I appreciate it.
Of course, man. We got to be truthful. The first thing, you always ask me what the first thing is, and I got really technical, but the first thing is realizing there's a problem, right?
Ooh.
And when you do realize that, I just want to put this out there, like a real leader is humble. A real leader is courageous. And sometimes that courage is saying, hey guys, we're in a bad situation, right? And give yourself credit for that, right? Don't beat yourself up for what happened for the last however long. Just be like, hey, we're in a bad situation. And I want to honor myself for being able to admit that, because that's the hard thing. We have an ego. And the hardest thing about this whole thing isn't executing it. The execution is relatively simple, but it's getting over that psychological fear and that humbleness in our ego. So like, just keep that in check and surround yourself with people who love you through these times, right? Reach out and have a supportive team, because that's the hardest part of this whole thing is humbling yourself. Because it's easy that we can joke and be like, oh, I'd be terrible at this, because I would be terrible at this too. I have a team that implements my system for me because I want to do this, right? I want to meet Josh. I want to go meet with people, go hang out and go do deals. But when we work with people, that's hands down the hardest thing. And as simple as it seems, the masters are just mastered the basics, and they do it over and over again, and they're advanced because they don't ever not do the basics.
Oh,
so
dude,
just keep going. Times are tough, guys, and be humble about that.
Stay humble, repeat every day. There you go.
That's it. Stay humble. I'm gonna get a hat. Shred. Stay humble.
There we go. It's going down. We're going to start a whole new life. I love it, Matt. This has been incredible. Guys, like he said, if you guys have questions, this is not sponsored by REI Bookkeepers. I just, when him and I had a conversation, I'm like, people need to know this. This is something that we do not discuss enough. So reach out to Matt and his team if you guys have questions. If you have needs, he is the one that can help you with this. Matt, you're the freaking man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and appreciate everybody joining us for this show. We hope you have an incredible weekend. And as always, we appreciate you. We love you. And now it's time for all of you to go shred, stay humble, repeat every day. See ya.